Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Daredevil Born Again. I guess you can say what, season 1? Or to some it might be season 4, episode 1 and 2. So I have been just like waiting and waiting and waiting for this show to come out ever since it was announced. Boy, I was ecstatic, but I was also a little worried because, it's the MCU, and the MCU has a way of screwing things up as of late. And so, I remember watching the old Daredevil series back in the day, getting hyped, like just falling in love with the series and everything. It was so hard hitting and it was so good. I really loved the first 2 seasons. The third season, not so much. I was a little irritated he gave up the suit, but all in all, I do enjoy the third season, especially the fight at the very, very, very end and everything. And, I can't tell you how good that show is. Like, oh my God, it was so good. So I was a little worried when he would join the MCU. And when Daredevil did join the MCU, originally in the Spider-Man movie, it's like, okay, fine, that's all right. I would have liked to see him in the suit, but he wasn't. Then, of course, we got him in She-Hulk, and I just hated that version so much. I did not want them to go back to the classic suit. Yeah, I know it's a classic. Yeah, I know nostalgia is in, but I don't care. I did not want to see him in that suit, and they made him kind of goofy a little bit. And he just felt so completely different. Then they brought him as a cameo in Echo back in the red suit, and like he had a very quick scene that was pretty cool. I know he's in that Spider-Man cartoon, but I refuse to watch that Spider-Man cartoon. And so, like, I was a little worried that he was going to get his own show, but at the same time, I was a little happy. Then all the behind-the-scenes drama started to happen. That got me even more worried and everything about how Kevin Feige was pissed at the showrunner and like the writers, because apparently Daredevil wasn't gonna appear in costume until the 4th episode. Also, Foggy and Karen wasn't gonna be in the show. Also, I was also worried because of how Kingpin was portrayed in the Hawkeye show. And because of what happened to him in Echo, that nobody knows till this day what the heck happened to him. And so with Daredevil not showing up until the 4th episode, and this being the MCU and Kevin Feige's over here firing people, I got very, very worried. Then it was reported he fired everybody, and then they're gonna retool the entire show. They're gonna instead of it being its own original thing, it's now gonna be tied to the Netflix series, which was great. They got the showrunner from The Punisher instead of the one from Daredevil, which is odd. Why didn't you get the showrunner from Daredevil to be on the Daredevil show, but not the one from Punisher? Whatever. And so I was slightly worried about that, only because I really enjoy the Punisher show. It's my second favorite Marvel Netflix show. But I have a bit of a problem with the show, is that it takes too long to get good. Both seasons, the first half of the season is always kind of lag and it's kind of boring. And then things get better towards the middle and the end. And it's the same way with kind of like this show and everything. Also, a problem I had with the Punisher show is that for some reason the showrunner always has Punisher doing what he does, then retiring, then becoming Punisher again. He did that in 2 seasons. He got his vengeance, he retired, then he became Punisher again. And they kind of did that here with this Daredevil show. So I'm like, crap, he did what he did in Punisher, what he did here. So I'm hoping the rest of the season gonna be good. We got 2 episodes, there's 7 left. And for the most part, I am very pleased with this Daredevil show. I like how mature it is. I love there is no... Sorry, I'm tired. There is no Marvel Disney baby humor in here. Like, it's gone. Like, thank God. And it's not dry like Secret Invasion. There's a little whimsy in humor in this show when Kingpin made fun of that dude's like sub sandwich and everything. And I'm so glad Kingpin is not goofy the way he was in Hawkeye. And I'm glad that like Daredevil is not goofy the way he was in She-Hulk. However, there is a little bit of confusion because I am a little confused. Because not only does this show have to tie into the Netflix show, it now has to tie in to everything we've seen on the MCU Daredevil wise. It has to tie into She-Hulk. It has to tie into Echo. And it's just gonna be odd. Like, what they did to him in She-Hulk is just kind of like, I can't unsee that. The costume, him like banging her, like him walking out all happy and cheerful, and I can't unsee that. And then you expect me to think it's this same version, like, you know? But apparently it is, because in the trailer, this Daredevil now has multiple masks of different colors. There's a silver one, there's a black one, there's a red one, there's a maroon one, and there's a yellow one. And I'm just kind of like, dude, just keep it red. Just keep it red. And so, like, another problem I had going into this show is that originally Froggy and Karen, like I said before, wasn't going to be in the show. But then a miracle happened and it was reported that they was going to be in it. But then Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin, he stated right before this show happened, and I wish to God celebrities would stop spoiling their show, because fans aren't stupid and they can able to piece things piece by piece. He said that the first episode in the first couple of minutes is gonna piss fans off. My brain automatically thought, okay, they're gonna kill somebody off. They're either gonna kill Froggy or they're gonna kill Karen. And wouldn't you know it, they killed Froggy. And they killed him within just a couple of minutes, and that was it. And then a year passed, because the MCU always has to do time jumps. And Karen and Matt don't really talk no more. And so far now, she is gone. So I'm like, crap, dude. They did exactly what they said they was gonna do in the beginning when they was gonna reboot this entire show. Why bring them in to bridge the show if you're just gonna take them out? Ooh, that makes me mad. And if they take one out, at least keep the other. So I don't know if Karen is ever gonna come back, but I hope to God she does, because I really like the Karen character. I like the actress. She can act very well. It's the first thing and the only thing I've ever seen her in. I've never watched True Blood, and I really enjoy Karen. They managed to do something that most superhero stuff is unable to do. They elevated the love interest and everything. Normally in a superhero thing, your love interest is the damsel in distress. We saw that a lot in the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies, and that's when a lot of people started to get irritated of that formula. It's the Lois Lane effect. And so since then, they've been trying to elevate their love interest in other television shows and other movies. Sometimes they go a little bit too far, where the love interest takes over the show or becomes the central character, like in The Flash. There was so much Iris West being like the girl boss that it irritated a lot of the fans. And especially when she said, "We are the Flash. You're not the Flash. We are the Flash." And that line will always haunt superhero shows till this day. And so they've been trying to have a nice blend of like They want their damsel in distress to also be a damsel in distress, but also be her own character, but not so much that she takes over. And that's what I liked about Karen. She was one of the actual first to actually truly do that, you know? And there's been other ones. Jane Foster in the Thor movies used to be that way. And, you know, but television wise, she was one of the first, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I always liked about her character and her acting and stuff. And the two replacements of his two new friends, they're not growing on me yet because I don't know much about them because they're kind of just thrown into the mix. And that's one thing about this show. While I enjoy it, if you ever hear anybody say that this is exactly like the Netflix show, it's exactly beat by beat, there's nothing different about it, that person's lying. That person is just hyped. That person is just a fanboy or a fangirl. Because there's a clear difference in this show from the Netflix show. It's similar, but different at the same time. It's like a watered down version, just a couple of splashes of water, not like a diluted water, but just a couple of splashes of water, different from that of like the Netflix show. It still has heavy dialogue that's like edgy. It still has hard hitting action and everything. It still has that grime to it, but it's a little bit more cleaned up. It's a little bit more polished. It's like what an MCU Disney Plus television show should have been back in the day before they started adding all that bright colors and humor and just stupidness, you know what I'm saying? And you can clearly tell that there are like two sets of writers from the old regime and the new one because the first two episodes, some of the dialogue feels a little bit different from one another and stuff like that. And it just feels like everything is thrown at us in this, like, you know, first two episodes. Because, like, you know, they have to tie it in to, like, the other ones that these characters have appeared in. So, in the first episode, you know, you have the trio hanging out, and then all of a sudden, Bullseye comes out. And he's wearing a completely different, ugly looking outfit. I don't know why they put that outfit on him for. Did they not have a budget? Like, did they not? And so, like, or maybe he's not even gonna be in the show for that long. Like, who knows? Because he was really only in the first episode and the second one a little bit. But we don't know if he's gonna be back anymore because Muse is supposed to show up and everything. And so, like, you have Bullseye coming in, shooting Foggy, gonna try to shoot Karen, and Daredevil stopped him. And then there's like a huge fight between him and Daredevil. And one thing I appreciated is that we finally got to see Daredevil swinging around on, like, you know, his Billy Club, like, grappler and everything, flipping around the rooftops, running on the rooftops. That's a very Daredevil thing to do. And I haven't seen Daredevil do that since, like, the Ben Affleck movie, you know? Which, by the way, I'm so sick and tired of that movie getting so much hate. That was a pretty good movie. I remember being hyped for the action. I liked the choreography. Some of the CGI was a little wonky and stuff. But what's crazy is that when I saw Daredevil, because they added CGI in to do his flips, and it was very reminiscent of that Ben Affleck movie. That was over 20 years ago. How does the CGI look very similar to that? I don't get it. But anyways, so he has this huge fight between, like, him and Bullseye, and it's kind of like in this fog and mist is going everywhere. It made it hard to see. Daredevil's supposed to be blind. We are not. So you want to see that action. And I'm a little mixed on that action scene because, one, I could barely tell what the heck was going on. I couldn't even really see when Bullseye was throwing stuff, I'm like, did he actually throw something? Like, I hear the noise, but I don't see nothing. And there are times where he's supposed to be so proficient that he's literally just walking, not even looking at you, and he throws it, and somehow it ends in you when you're behind him and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, I need to know what's going on, like visually. Then they added CGI here and there, and the CGI didn't really match up very well with that CGI looking fog and like what was going on with the practical stuff as opposed to CG stuff. And it was very distorted. And then they zoomed out of the fight to where it was like very, very far away. And I'm just like, bring it up a little bit so I can see what's actually going on. And, and so I guess it's supposed to be reminiscent of like the hallway fight, but not as good. You know what I'm saying? Now, one thing I do appreciate is the camera work. They're really trying different angles and twists and turns of the camera, and I appreciate that. But anyway, so Foggy dies and like, on the ground, and Karen couldn't stop the bleeding, and Matt is so pissed that he literally just tosses Bullseye off the building and presumably kills him. I'm like, holy crap, he killed somebody. And I'm all like, I don't remember him killing nobody in the Netflix show. Maybe he did, but I don't remember that. And I remember Stan Lee getting pissed at the Ben Affleck movie because that Daredevil killed people and stuff. But then Bullseye survived, and I'm all like, how? Like, explain that before you take him off the show. And they never did. So it's supposed to tie into the Netflix show where he gets like a new spine, but made of what? And blood dripped out of his body. How did he survive that? I think in the comics he has adamantium like spine, but they need to explain that for this show. And then so like a year passes, and the dude's been locked up for a whole year, hasn't broken out, and he's now getting sent to a bigger prison and everything. And I'm just kind of like, is that it? Is he done? like, did they literally just bring him in to bridge it from like the Netflix show? So if so, I'm a little bummed out. Like the dude barely even said anything, and he had a horrible costume. But other than that, Matt and like Karen had a falling out, and supposedly she's now gone. And I'm very disappointed in that. I want Karen in this show. She went from being a secretary to being like a legal analyst to like, part like owner and stuff like that. And she even stood up to Kingpin and everything. I mean, that was some dark, gritty stuff they did in the Netflix show, but in here it's just kind of a little watered down a little bit. So I'm slightly disappointed, like the opening, because Matt is now retired and everything. He's now doing the legal stuff that he always does and the lawyer stuff. And I don't want this to be a lawyer type drama. I want this to be a comic book action stuff where you just sprinkle in the lawyer stuff. You know what I'm saying? I also miss Claire. Rosanna Dawson's character. At least I think that's her name. I miss her character too. She got taken out of the Netflix show way too early. But so then you have like the whole stuff going on with Wilson Fisk, right? And it's interesting because they had to recast his wife, and I'm not sure why. But like this new wife, she kind of acts a little different. The other one was, I don't know, it's like the other one seemed meaner to me, but this one basically took over his organization while he was away recovering from what Echo did to him. What exactly did Echo do to him? We still don't know, but we know it took months for his mind to heal. And so like it caused problems between him and his wife because, they weren't together and she took over the business, and he ain't exactly happy with that because he likes control and he lost control, but he also loves his wife where he gets pissed if you even mention her and everything. So they have to see a marriage counselor because of that. And the marriage counselor, while I forget her name, she's dating Matt Murdock. And she's an all right character. But once again, she's just thrown into the show. The one great thing about the Karen character is they built her up. They gave you a reason to like her, to care about her, and a reason why she's in like the show. A little bit too froggy and everything with the relationship between him and Matt. But these newer characters are just kind of thrown at us, and we're supposed to just know who they are. Like, are they even from the comics? I haven't even looked it up yet. But anyway, and so Fisk, I think they rushed that whole him becoming mayor thing. It's like first he said he was gonna run, then all of a sudden he won. That's weird. Okay, he announced he was gonna run RUN, and then he won WON. Okay, now I'm hearing it in my head, and it's just like that was just so quick. And yeah, you can clearly tell who his character is based off of. Yeah, technically Kingpin does run for mayor in the comics, but this is clearly taking inspiration from real life politics. He's basically Trump. Like, and so, they're both convicted felons. They both won their elections. And it's like he's clearly like Trump in this show. And I don't want to go back to that type of television again from 2015-16, where every television show will bring in politics and everything. Even shows that normally don't have it. And I'm just kind of like, oh God, I don't want to see that again. South Park did it. The Boys is still doing it and everything. And it's kind of like, he just wants his way. And Kingpin loves control. Like when he was like driving, there's like a giant like hole in the middle of the road. He literally had the construction workers fill it up right then and there because he wants everything his way. You know what I'm saying? He loves that power. Just like how with the police commissioner dude tried to resign because the police commissioner dude hates him because he knows he's a criminal and everything and he's corrupt and stuff. But then it's like when he tried to resign, Kingpin like held leverage over him by showing his like love child and everything. And that caused him to stay on the force. Because the thing about Kingpin is that you remember he grew up in like a poor house home. His dad was abusive. His dad tried to be mayor, couldn't be mayor. And then he used to beat his mom, and then Kingpin killed him. And ever since then, Kingpin has always wanted that level of control over everything. So he doesn't have to like experience the horrors of what he had when he was younger and stuff. And like, so it does make it. I wonder how the rest of this season is going to pan out with that, because I don't know. Because then you have the introduction of this BB character, who is either Ben Urich's niece or daughter or something. And I don't know if she knows that he killed Ben and stuff. But like, so far I don't know what to make of her, only because we only seen her briefly. But she has kind of like this news type organization where we constantly see news feed of her network interviewing people on the streets about what they think of Kingpin and what they think of Daredevil and what they think about the crime in like the city. And it reminds me of Frank Miller, the Dark, what was that called? The Dark Knight Returns or something like that. where I remember when I watched like the animated movie, it was always these news feeds cutting in at like the most awkward times. And at first I did not like that, but then I came to appreciate it. Here, it does make the show feel different. So I'm okay with it for now, but they kind of overdo it a little bit. But for now, I'm kind of okay with that. And so then there's this storyline with the White Tiger. And the actor sadly passed away. May he rest in peace. And basically, he's a vigilante who just wears like a white tiger outfit and has a magical amulet. And they kind of just threw him into the void of this show. Just like boom, just like threw him in there with no like build up or anything like that. It's kind of what they did with the Punisher. And I guess I was more okay with the Punisher only because I knew who he was. And but when it comes to here, it just kind of feels like I don't know. It's like he does this. Cause when they introduced White Tiger, we just saw him on like video, him beating up some people at like a liquor store or something like that. Then we get to see him out of costume with like some corrupt police officers. He beats them up and then he gets arrested. Now he's put on trial and Matt has to defend him. And not only that, but like Matt's friend, who's like a PI or something like that, who's a new character introduced. He's kind of like the new Froggy and everything. And apparently Matt has known him for a while. He goes and talks to, I guess, like the man's wife or something like that. And he's just snooping around that dude's place and sees his costume in like a box. And once again, it's just like thrown at you. Like everything is just like thrown at you with no real build up. And that's the problem with the MCU Disney Plus shows. Things always happen at a very quick pace to where things are just like thrown at you with no real build up. And sadly, they took the Netflix Daredevil show and they applied that to that formula. And I hate that in everything. And he also has another legal assistant. I don't know her name, but she's kind of just there. I don't really know what to make of her. She's the new Karen. And once again, she's just kind of thrown in the mix and we don't really know nothing about her. So I'm hoping in the next episodes, we can actually kind of like these characters a bit more. Because right now they're just like inserted into the show. And it feels weird because this is technically a continuation of the Netflix show. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, like it's a pretty good show, like you know what I'm saying, and this is kind of what I expected going into the MCU and also the showrunner of the Punisher. Now, one thing they do that's completely different from the Netflix show is we get the airtime. Matt is constantly listening to stuff, and we finally get to hear him listening to stuff, which is something we never really got to do in the Netflix show. So I appreciate that because he has like super hearing. My problem is they do it way too much. I don't need to see a close-up of his ear and the weird distortion around it. Like, I get it, you know what I'm saying? Now, I would love to see his echolocation. That was something that was fun about the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, is we got to see this other world visually and everything, how he sees everything. And I wish they would do that here, but so far they have not. As for the new costume, I don't really know what to make of it because we've barely seen it. There was something else. Oh, I can't think of it right now. But yeah, as of right now, he no longer has that suit. He has a piece of the ear from the horn. So he has like a little piece of horn and that's about it. Oh, also, the new guy who's a PI, the way he found out Matt was Daredevil was just so rushed. It's basically he goes on the rooftop for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? This older cop, former cop dude, just goes on the roof knowing Daredevil and Bullseye is there. And he just goes on the roof and Matt just happens to take off like, his mask and like, is sobbing over Foggy. And that's how that dude found out. And I'm just kind of like, really? No build up? Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. So there's a fight scene in the second episode, and it's out of costume, and it was too close up. At first, I had a problem with it being too far away. Now I have a problem with it being too close up and too sped up. I don't like seeing like sped up fights. One thing that was so awesome about the Netflix show is that the fight scenes were always awesome. So I'm really hoping they can keep, you know, doing what they're doing, but just improve on a couple of little things. You know what I'm saying? Because for the most part, it's a pretty good series and it's a pretty solid MCU Disney Plus show. Oh, my bad. So I just now read that his wife, they actually brought back the original wife. Originally, she was recast, but when they retooled the show, they brought back the original actress. She just acts different for some bizarre reason. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.